There's a moment in every separation, breakup, or emotional distance where something unexpected happens. Something she never imagined, something you never believed would be possible, and something that flips the entire power dynamic upside down. It's the moment she stops running and starts feeling the pull back toward you. Not because you begged, not because you argued, not because you tried to convince her. She comes back because of a psychological shift she cannot control. A shift that happens when a man stops chasing her emotionally and starts reclaiming himself. Most men believe a woman comes back when she misses you, but missing is just the surface. The real reason she comes back, the real reason she reaches out first, apologizes first, or tries to reconnect is because she feels something deeper. The loss of emotional power she once had over you. When she feels that shift, something primal gets activated inside her. Confusion, curiosity, regret, fear, attraction, a mixture so strong she cannot ignore it. That's when she begins thinking about you at night. That's when she remembers the way you made her feel. That's when she wonders if she made a mistake. And that's when the desire to come back begins building silently inside her. But here's the part most men never learn. She only feels this shift when you stop trying to win her and start winning yourself. When you stop explaining yourself, she feels uncertainty. When you stop reacting emotionally, she feels curiosity. When you stop chasing, she feels attraction. When you pull back your energy, she feels the imbalance. When you reclaim your attention, she feels the loss. It's not magic, it's psychology, it's emotional gravity. It's the moment she realizes the man she thought she could walk away from is now the man she can't stop thinking about. Women don't beg for the man who needs them. Women beg for the man who doesn't collapse when they leave. And this is the secret every powerful man understands. The moment you detach emotionally, not with arrogance, not with anger, but with calm, grounded self-respect, your value skyrockets because you are no longer the predictable man she assumed she knew. You become the man she misjudged, the man she underestimated, the man she didn't expect to grow. And women are drawn to growth more than anything else. They feel it, they respond to it, they chase it. She'll beg to come back when she feels the difference between the man you were with her and the man you've become without her. She'll beg to come back when she realizes you're not waiting anymore. She'll beg to come back when your silence forces her to confront what she lost. She'll beg to come back when your energy says, I'm not the man who fears losing you. I'm the man you fear losing. This is the psychology of power. And once you understand it, everything changes. Before we start, a quick reminder, the real transformation doesn't happen on YouTube. It happens inside the community. If these videos have opened your eyes, what's inside will rebuild your mindset completely. It's not just a course, it's a brotherhood, a private space where men master attraction, emotional control, and the psychology of power. You don't join for a month, you join for life. Every future course, book, and lesson is yours forever. No subscriptions, no limits, just one decision that changes your direction. If you're serious about growth, discipline, and purpose, click the link below. Join the community. Enroll once, grow forever. Let's dive in. Section 1, the emotional shift she never saw coming. A woman begins to come back the moment the emotional dynamic changes. When the man she expected to chase suddenly stops, she doesn't feel it immediately. At first, she thinks she made the right decision. She thinks she has the upper hand. She tells herself she's moving on. She assumes your world will collapse without her presence. And for a short period, she believes she is in control. But slowly, something starts to shift inside her. It's not regret yet, it's not longing, it's something deeper, a subtle creeping uncertainty. She begins to question whether she misread you. She begins to wonder whether you're actually hurting or if you've already accepted the situation. She expected you to fall apart, but you didn't. And it's this unexpected emotional stability that begins shaking her confidence. Women don't get pulled back by the familiar, they get pulled back by the unexpected. When you stop doing what she predicted, you disrupt the emotional script in her mind. She anticipated sadness, desperation, chasing, long messages, explanations, apologies, or emotional reactivity. That's the pattern she mentally prepared for. But when you remain calm, quiet, grounded, and focused on your own life, she experiences a psychological dissonance. It doesn't match the version of you she stored in her mind. And the human brain is wired to resolve dissonance. She begins to think about you more, not because she misses the past, but because she doesn't understand the present. This is where the emotional pull begins. She looks for signs of weakness and finds none. She tests your emotional state through silence, but you remain centered. She waits for you to break the distance, but you don't. She checks your social media, hoping to see signs of heartbreak, but instead sees growth, discipline, or progress. She expected you to crumble. Instead, she sees a man who rises. And that rising energy is what triggers attraction again. Not the old neediness, not the old emotional dependence, but the new version of you who doesn't rely on her to feel valuable. The emotional shift she never saw coming is simple. She expected you to need her. Now she fears losing you. That fear is the beginning of her desire to come back. This shift happens quietly. She won't show it at first. She won't text immediately. She won't confess anything. Her pride won't let her. But her mind becomes preoccupied with you. She starts revisiting memories. She starts replaying old moments. She remembers the way you made her feel. Not because you're doing anything now, but because your absence forces her to face the truth. You were more important to her than she admitted. The moment she recognizes this emotional shift is when attraction is reborn. Not because she misses what you did for her, but because she feels something she didn't expect to feel. Admiration. She sees strength instead of neediness. She sees independence instead of attachment. She sees a man who can choose himself over her. And that's the type of man she doesn't walk away from easily. This shift is the foundation. It's the beginning of the return. It's the moment she realizes the story isn't over and she might be the one who wants you back. Section 2. Why her mind starts chasing you before her words do? A woman never comes back instantly. Her body doesn't move first. Her words don't move first. Her ego definitely doesn't move first, but her mind does. The return always begins internally, long before she ever reaches out. And if you understand these psychological steps, you'll know exactly why the shift happens and why it's so powerful. When you stop chasing, the first thing she feels is confusion. This confusion isn't negative, it's curiosity. She begins asking herself questions she never expected to ask. Why isn't he trying anymore? Why isn't he reacting? Why is he so calm? These questions trigger the beginning of her internal chase, not for attention, but for understanding. Human psychology always tries to understand what it doesn't expect. Next comes comparison. She begins comparing the version of you she remembers with the version she now imagines. This is where the real chase begins. She remembers the man who was present, loyal, consistent, and emotionally available. But now she sees a man who is detached, disciplined, selective, focused, and maybe even thriving without her. That contrast hits her ego harder than anything else. It forces her to acknowledge something her pride refused to admit. You weren't dependent on her, you were choosing her, and now you're choosing yourself. After comparison comes awareness. She becomes aware that she underestimated your emotional strength. She becomes aware that she assumed too much. She becomes aware that her choices had consequences. And this awareness leads to something she cannot control: emotional friction. This is when she starts checking your stories, viewing your posts, asking mutual friends about you, or showing up in your online activity. These are not coincidences. These are subconscious impulses driven by curiosity mixed with rising fear. Then comes the emotional trigger. The moment she realizes you have changed, maybe you're leveling up, maybe you're calmer, maybe you're posting differently. Maybe you seem more focused, more disciplined, more grounded. Women feel growth instantly, and masculine growth is one of the strongest triggers of female desire. Not because she wants to own it, but because she wants to be close to it. At this stage, her mind begins building a narrative around you, a narrative she didn't want initially. What if he's moving on? What if he found someone better? What if my place isn't secure anymore? What if I misjudged him? What if I lose him forever? These questions create emotional urgency inside her. And emotional urgency is what makes her start chasing again. But she won't message yet. She won't express it yet. She won't show it yet because her ego is still trying to protect her. So the chase happens internally. Restlessness, curiosity, imagination, comparison, and the slow realization that the man she walked away from is no longer waiting. This is why her mind chases first. She needs to rebuild her internal picture of you before she rebuilds the connection itself. She needs to feel the loss before she feels the desire. She needs to face the silence before she breaks it. And once her mind starts chasing, her behavior will follow because attraction always begins silently long before it becomes visible. Section 3. The power shift. When you become the prize in her mind, there comes a very specific moment, quiet, subtle, almost invisible, when the entire power dynamic flips. It doesn't happen when you block her. It doesn't happen when you argue. It doesn't happen when you try to look unbothered. The shift happens when you genuinely stop centering your world around her, when your actions, your silence, and your lifestyle show her something she never expected. You have become the prize. Men lose attraction when they act like the prize before becoming it. But men gain attraction when they become the prize first, then stay silent. This is what hits her psychologically. She starts realizing that the man she thought would chase her forever is now the man who is too focused on leveling up to worry about her opinion. And that emotional shift is what makes her feel the urge to return. When you were giving too much, she felt secure. Too secure. She knew you'd be there no matter what. She knew you'd respond instantly. She knew she could pull away and you'd lean in. She knew your emotions were predictable, accessible, and controlled by her behavior. That sense of emotional certainty lowers attraction, not because she's cruel, but because certainty kills curiosity. And curiosity is the root of feminine desire. But the moment you become the prize, the moment you step back, improve yourself, reclaim your attention, and stop feeding her emotional comfort, curiosity comes back to life. She begins wondering who you truly are. She begins noticing the strength she overlooked. She begins sensing the boundaries she once crossed without consequences. And slowly, she begins to see value where she once saw availability. A woman's attraction grows the most when she doesn't feel entitled to your presence anymore, when she can no longer predict your reactions, when she can't read your emotions, when she realizes she no longer has automatic access to your heart. This unpredictability doesn't come from playing games, it comes from your internal upgrade. Your silence becomes meaningful because it reflects growth, discipline, and self-respect. She starts picturing you with someone else even if you're not. She starts imagining your life evolving, and it probably is. She starts feeling the possibility of losing you permanently. And that possibility triggers emotional intensity because women don't chase men who beg. Women don't chase men who wait. Women chase men who rise, men who evolve, men who transform quietly, men who detach with dignity, men who become stronger after the separation instead of weaker. The moment she sees you as the prize is the moment she starts feeling envy, fear, admiration, curiosity, and desire all at once. It becomes harder for her to stay silent, harder to pretend she doesn't care, harder to keep her pride intact because something inside her recognizes the truth. You're no longer the man who needed her. You've become the man she doesn't want to lose. This is the psychological turning point. This is when she starts leaning back toward you. This is when begging begins in her mind long before it reaches her lips. Section 4, the trigger that makes her realize you're slipping away. There is always one moment, one emotional spark that finally wakes her up. It's the moment she realizes she is no longer the center of your world. And that realization hits harder than anything she expected. It doesn't happen because you blocked her. It doesn't happen because you acted cold. It happens because your silence starts to feel real. Your distance starts to feel intentional. Your life starts to look full without her in it. And that's when it hits her with force. You are slipping away. This moment doesn't show up as panic. It begins as discomfort, a small, irritating feeling in her chest when she sees you haven't viewed her story, a subtle sting when she posts something and you don't react, a strange tension when she checks your profile and sees growth instead of grief. These small discomforts grow into emotional warnings, warnings that say he isn't orbiting me anymore, he's not waiting for me, he's okay without me. And that realization is terrifying to her ego. Women are emotionally intuitive. They sense energetic changes before they see physical ones. When she feels that your energy is no longer pointed at her, she becomes unsettled. She can't explain it, but she knows something has changed. The constant emotional assurance you used to give her is gone. The invisible thread connecting you is thinner now, and the more she senses that thread weakening, the more she starts becoming emotionally reactive toward it. This is the trigger that makes her rethink everything. Your emotional independence, not coldness, not arrogance, independence. When you no longer need her attention to feel valuable, when your self-esteem is no longer tied to her response, when your life expands without her, when your peace becomes untouchable. She starts to feel the loss, not because you left, but because you outgrew the version of you she left behind. This is the moment she realizes the breakup or separation did not break you, it built you. And that realization creates two emotions inside her: regret and curiosity. Regret because she now sees how much she underestimated you, curiosity because you have become unpredictable. You are no longer emotionally owned by her. You are no longer the man who waited for her attention. You are no longer in a position where she can assume your availability. This psychological trigger causes a shift that she cannot hide. She starts checking your profile more. She starts hovering around your online presence. She starts posting things to see if you'll react. She starts dropping breadcrumbs. She starts trying to grab your attention indirectly. All of this is her way of checking how far you've drifted because she feels it now. You're slipping away. And that scares her far more than being left ever scared you. She knows that if she doesn't act soon, she may lose you forever. Not because someone else took you, but because you finally reclaimed yourself. Section 5. The secret that makes her want to come back first. There is one secret, one psychological truth that makes a woman want to come back first, even when her pride is fighting against it. It's not silence alone. It's not distance alone. It's not ignoring her or blocking her. The real secret is this: she comes back when she realizes you have become a man she can no longer predict, control, or replace. Women don't chase the man who stays the same. They chase the man who evolves without them. They chase the man who grows, who rises, who elevates, who transforms quietly while they're gone. This transformation creates emotional pressure inside her because she recognizes two truths at the same time. One, you are not the man she walked away from. Two, you are the man another woman would want. This combination is devastating to her ego and irresistible to her heart. When she sees you becoming more focused, more disciplined, more confident, more selective, more calm, more centered, more purpose-driven, she begins to crave the version of you that she didn't get to experience. Not the man she knew before, but the man you are becoming now. That version of you feels rare, valuable, powerful, and women always move toward value, even if they left it before. Here is the deeper truth. No woman begs for a man whose world revolves around her. She begs for the man who rebuilt his world without her. Your transformation puts her in a psychological bind. She wants the comfort of your past, but she desires the strength of your present. She feels the loss of the man she left, but she is attracted to the man you've become. This contradiction is what pulls her back emotionally. She begins imagining what it would feel like to reconnect with you now. Not out of nostalgia, but out of longing for the new energy you carry. This is the secret that makes her want to come back first. You've created emotional scarcity. Your energy is no longer free. Your attention is no longer automatic. Your availability is no longer guaranteed. Your presence is no longer predictable. And scarcity creates demand. Demand creates desire. Desire creates action. She starts to picture another woman receiving the emotional experience you once gave her, a more powerful version than she ever got. She starts imagining someone else benefiting from the man she failed to appreciate. These thoughts create emotional urgency, and urgency turns into motivation. And that motivation is what pushes her pride out of the way, because the fear of losing you forever outweighs the fear of reaching out first. But the real magic is this: she doesn't want the old version of you back. She wants the upgraded version you've become, the version she didn't expect, didn't understand, and didn't think she would ever need. That's the secret. She begs to come back when your evolution becomes undeniable, when your silence becomes strength, when your distance becomes dignity, when your growth becomes too attractive to ignore. Because at that point, she's not coming back to the past. She's coming back to the man she sees now. At the end of it all, the real reason she comes back isn't because she suddenly understands everything. It's because she finally feels something she never expected to feel: the possibility that you might not be hers anymore. She doesn't feel this when you chase. She doesn't feel this when you explain. She doesn't feel this when you stay predictable. She feels it when you rise without her. The moment she senses that you've outgrown the emotional attachment she once depended on, her world shifts. She sees the strength in your silence. She sees the confidence in your distance. She sees the discipline in your growth. And she feels the weight of her own choices in a way she never did before. Not because you punished her, but because you elevated yourself beyond the version she expected to return to her. The truth is simple. Women don't beg to come back to men who stay the same. They beg to come back to the man who becomes everything she thought she could find somewhere else, only to realize she was wrong. And that's the secret you must understand. You didn't get her attention because you wanted her. You got her attention because you no longer needed her. This is the essence of psychological power. Not manipulation, not games, not tactics, but transformation. You become a man so rooted, so calm, so focused, so self-respecting, so internally rich that your absence becomes louder than any words you could ever send her. Your silence becomes a message. Your growth becomes the proof. Your energy becomes the trigger, and your evolution becomes the reason she looks back and thinks, I should have treated him better. I didn't expect him to move on. I didn't know he had that strength in him. I didn't know he'd become this guy. And once a woman thinks those thoughts, the narrative changes forever. She isn't coming back for closure. She isn't coming back for friendship. She isn't coming back out of boredom. She's coming back because she now sees you the way she should have from the beginning, as a man who is rare, valuable, and not guaranteed. She'll beg to come back, not because you forced her, but because you forced yourself to grow. And that growth is something she can feel, even from a distance. That's the psychology of power, and once you master it, you will never chase the wrong person again. Remember, knowledge means nothing without action. If you're ready to rise above emotion and lead with purpose, join the community today at the link below. Enroll once, grow forever.